Let's bring in Joe Siracusa, the Dean of Global Futures at the Faculty of Humanities at Curtin University in Melbourne. Hello to you, Joe. Was this an echo chamber that he was hosting Tucker Carlson, and how much did it contribute towards the agenda of the Republican Party?
Well, I think it reflected the Republican values, but he didn't really shape them so much. I mean, television in America, in my lifetime spans American television, is a reflection of American standards and politics and all that. I mean, I grew up with General Eisenhower on television and then everybody else after that. Now, just a little correction here. I'm sure Carlson didn't leave on his own accord. And I'd like to think that maybe Rupert Murdoch was taking care of loose ends here. But, you know, there is a cautionary tale here I've seen all my life. And that is when the anchor is more important than the news, it's time for the anchor to go. Keep in mind that this particular network, Fox, got rid of its CEO, Roger Ailes, who invented the place. He was just too much in the news. So Murdoch couldn't stand that kind of thing. And, of course, Murdoch was falling out with Trump, and I realized there is a public face of Carlson who was pitching to the conspiracy theory. But look, Americans with an IQ over 85 didn't believe for a minute the election was stolen. It became kind of a metaphor that everybody hung on to. I mean, even Donald Trump knew when it was time to leave on January 20th, 2021. I mean, he knew he'd lost the election. That's why he left and all the rest of it. But I think Tucker just became a liability of his own sort of infamy. I mean, when you got to pay somebody $785 million to go away, somebody has to pay the piper. And you could have fired maybe 6 people. And I just before going on air, I hear that they fired his producer, his executive producer, as well as him. So it was a clean sweep. So it's a combination of Rupert Murdoch taking care of loose ends, and it was also a sort of a course correction for the network. You just can't have an anchor on air who's more important than the news.
But surely, if it is true that he was sacked, fired by Rupert Murdoch, sure, it's a fallout from the settlement with Dominion, but surely it would be because of what he was saying in private about Donald Trump and how that contrasted with what he was saying in public, because clearly his private statements like this one were very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights. I truly can't wait, apart from calling him a demonic force, a destroyer, that he passionately hates Trump. So surely his credibility with Fox viewers has been destroyed because they know whatever he says positively about Trump, he probably doesn't believe it.
Well, you're quite right. He burned his credibility by saying things like that. And I understand from the court case, there's much on his phone that was redacted in the courtroom, which is probably available to other people, but was always available to the Fox people. So he probably said a lot of things. He wouldn't be the first guy behind the scenes who didn't like the people he was talking to, even though he pretended to on air. I mean, you know, he went along with that gag for a while because it made him very, very famous, and it made him rich, as a matter of fact, and gave him a large part to play in the Republican Party. But look, the Republican Party are filled with men and women who have their own virtues and their own way of looking at the world. And they're not just watching television to see which way they're going to go. And keep in mind that Roger Ailes instilled in Fox Television a combination not only of the news, but entertainment. So when you watch Tucker Carlson or Sean Hannity or any of these guys, and Bill Riley in the past, you were getting a little bit of entertainment as well as political analysis. But he stepped over the line. He became more important than the news story. He stepped over the line also. He got caught out saying what he thought about Trump behind closed doors or on his phone. And so, you know, it just comes a point where it's time to go. Everybody in the news business knows they have a shelf life, whether it's Megyn Kelly or somebody else. And when your time is up, your time is up. And you don't really need a lot of people to tell you that. So but I'm sure they got rid of him because, you know, I think networks are more important than any individual on the network itself. So whether it's getting rid of Johnny Carson or somebody like that, I mean, and any network, whether it's the BBC and the public networks in Australia or in America I'm sorry, in the world are far more important than any individual. So Fox will go on. They will reinvent itself in many ways. I'm sure they will have a terrific fan base among Republicans who can't stand the mainstream media anyway, and it will continue to influence events. But to know the secret about all this, you'd have to get into the mind of Rupert Murdoch, and I wouldn't really want to venture that myself.
Joe, just for the record, personally, I like you very much indeed. Thanks very much. Take care.
Thank you very much.